Welcome to our Thesis Talks. This is the first session of our Thesis Talks here at California State University, Northridge. Thesis Talks are part of the Camino grant that we received from the Department of Education. The goal of the Camino grant is to encourage and support more of our Hispanic and undergraduate students to pursue careers in biomedical and health-related disciplines. We know that our students have interest in these areas, and we're trying to support them to firm up their research plans and to present their research in a very engaging and compelling way to broader audiences as a way of giving them the opportunity to practice their research skills and their communication skills and to see themselves as emerging scholars, researchers, and contributors to their discipline. Enjoy the session, and thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you, Dean Alva. Wonderful, and really we'd like to thank Dean Alva. It was her idea, this whole thesis talks. She said, why don't we bring this to CSUN? And we wrote a grant, we got funded through Camino, our Pathways to Healthcare, so we are so thrilled. So thank you, Dean Alva, for your amazing leadership, and to everyone here attending. Thank you, everyone. Can I get a good morning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. I spent 4 years in North Carolina. Believe me, I was going to gospel churches. So that's where I kind of get that influence. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Sloan Burke, and I'm the project director for Camino, which is this event is sponsored by. But we also thank the support of the College of Health and Human Development and also for Research and Creative Work Symposium. We're excited to kick off the first it will be an annual event of Thesis Talks, and we thank the students. These students, as Dean Alva had said, spent countless hours out in the community with participants engaged in research, and now they're bringing their stories to share with you. So we're super excited, and we thank Melissa again for her leadership as the amazing coach, and let's get started, okay? So sit back and relax and enjoy each journey. So our first speaker is Amanda Blake, and she comes to us from the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics. Important, right? We have to eat healthy. Her chair is Dr. Elizabeth Sussman, and Amanda is going to share with us the effects of selenium, and I have to read this, yes, effects of selenium and vitamin C supplementation on antioxidant status and quality of life in hemodialysis patients. It's an amazing presentation, so we welcome Amanda.
I'd like to talk to you about something we do every day without thought. If we're hydrating properly, we do it several times a day. It's an action with many names. But for the sake of science, I'll use a more clinical term. We urinate. While this is something that most of us take for granted, there is a population of individuals who make little or no urine. Imagine the fluid that would build up, the harmful waste you'd be unable to evacuate. This is a reality for 600,000 Americans. And why don't they urinate? Because their kidneys have failed. Kidney disease affects people of all ages and ethnicities. It may strike someone who is otherwise perfectly healthy or develop due to that individual having another disease. But the end result is the same. They cannot rid themselves of fluid and waste. And without treatment or transplant, they will die. From the perspective of a nutritionist, I will address the consequences and symptoms of kidney failure and discuss whether or not there's something that we can do about it. The most common treatment is hemodialysis. Say your kidneys have failed. 3 times a week you visit a clinic where for 4 hours, this machine becomes your kidney. Your blood flows from your body into these tubes, and it's filtered of fluid and waste, and then it's returned to you. It's exhausting, let alone the fact that this process also strips away essential vitamins and minerals, nutrients of which you're probably not getting enough of anyway because you have a new diet. Potassium, which we think of as something we generally don't get enough of, can accumulate in the bloodstream if you don't urinate and be deadly. So all those potassium-rich fruits and vegetables, restricted. If you are diagnosed with kidney failure and sentenced to dialysis, you have a 1 in 2 chance of surviving 3 years. If you qualify, you'll add your name to the transplant list, but the wait can be up to 10 years. And interestingly, it's not even kidney disease that's going to kill you. More likely, it's heart disease. So let's return to those fruits and vegetables your new diet has limited. They're chock full of vitamins and minerals, many of which are antioxidants that defend your heart. Your body, your health depends on your body maintaining a critical balance between a defensive team of antioxidants and an offensive team of pro-oxidants, harmful chemicals your body produces naturally every day, but even more so if your kidneys have failed. If you're on hemodialysis, your defense is missing players. Your offense is stacked. And this imbalance, called oxidative stress, contributes to heart disease, a consequence of a machine replacing your kidney. And how does it feel to have kidney failure? The symptoms collectively are called uremia: nausea, vomiting, muscle cramps, increased thirst, loss of appetite, fatigue. Many of these symptoms actually mirror scurvy, which is not just an 18th century sailor malady. Scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency, a common condition in hemodialysis patients, meaning that this vulnerable population is missing an important member of the antioxidant team. Research has shown that levels of vitamin C will rise with supplementation. Where research is lacking is whether or not this will alleviate the symptoms of uremia. If one of the causes of uremic symptoms is a vitamin C deficiency, then isn't it possible that supplementation will alleviate at least some of those symptoms? Another area lacking research involves the essential mineral selenium, and a component of other critical antioxidants in your blood. As a matter of fact, vitamin C often relies on a selenium-dependent compound to regenerate, so it can do its job over and over again. Recent observational studies have shown that hemodialysis patients are selenium deficient, but experimental research is needed in order to justify selenium therapy. Last fall, I partnered with Dr. Elizabeth Sussman, and we conducted a human clinical trial to answer the following 2 questions. Will vitamin C supplementation improve the way hemodialysis patients feel? And will the addition of selenium therapy further strengthen their antioxidant status, thereby reducing the imbalance that causes oxidative stress? We recruited participants at a dialysis clinic in Riverside, and our intention was to have 90, but patients were ineligible if their potassium was too high, if they smoked, if they had cancer or other serious illnesses. And of course, they had to agree to participate. And this is a population with a high pill burden, averaging 19 pills a day. One of the key advantages we had in getting patients to participate and say yes was that we were offering every participant gummies. Our placebo group got gummy bears, our vitamin C group, vitamin C gummies, and only our vitamin C and selenium group had to swallow a pill. We ended up with 30 participants. And if it wasn't for the gummies, it may have even been less. Monthly, we visited the clinic to draw blood in order to measure antioxidant status. And on the first and last day of the 3-month trial, we conducted a quality of life survey to determine how the patients were feeling, both emotionally and physically. And what have we discovered? First of all, I discovered that human clinical trials are really, really hard. I've devoted hundreds of hours to this research, and I've barely started my thesis. And there's an emotional toll. I worked one-on-one with patients who were very sick. I had to ask them personal questions about how they were feeling, and most of the time, they weren't feeling so good, either emotionally or physically. And we lost patients for administrative reasons, for personal reasons, and one patient we lost because she died. Palu passed away within days of receiving a cancer diagnosis. She had so many overlapping symptoms that the cancer went unrecognized for months until it was too late to do anything about it. But what about clinical results? Well, I'm doing my analysis right now, and the selenium's been held up at the lab. But this chart represents our vitamin C results. And as we expected, the groups that were supplemented saw their levels of vitamin C normalize. And this line represents the lowest level of vitamin C that's considered normal. And if you look at the blue bars, you can see how deficient our participants were of this critical antioxidant. And this chart represents our quality of life results. While it's hopeful that the vitamin C and selenium group saw an almost 10% increase, indicating improvement, we have a lot of analysis ahead of us. Ultimately, our hope with this trial is that our results justify a much larger study. Nutritional supplements are relatively inexpensive and easy to come by, and if it can be shown that a vitamin and a mineral can improve and possibly even extend the life of someone suffering from this deadly disease, we will have made a difference. I recommend the next time you see a man about a horse, give your kidneys a shout out.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Amanda. I do have one quick question. While you mentioned at the very end that you were planning to extend this in a larger population, did you have ideas in mind of what population you would like to try next, kind of extending it?
There's two major clinics across the country that have it's Fresenius and DaVita. We worked with DaVita, have a relationship with the DaVita, so probably we would extend it to DaVita clinics throughout the country. That's the idea, is to develop a relationship with them and then find out which clinics would be interested in doing research, because it's an entire team of people that have to agree to participate and help us. But that's kind of the idea. So we would be working with the medical doctors that oversee the clinics and talk to them about getting permission to do research at their clinics.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you to Amanda. So the next time we see about a horse, we'll think of our kidneys, right? Very important. Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Amanda. Next we have Matt Reinig, who's with the Department of Kinesiology. Stephen Loy is his chair. He shared with us that one of his inspirations is Buzz Lightyear, and you're going to see why. Matt is fantastic. So he's going to talk to us a little bit more about taking a risk and getting involved. Matt?
It's a beautiful thing to see everyone mutually understand what is happening through the use of simple body gestures. There's over 6,500 languages in the world, in addition to those that have died. But there's one language that almost everyone can understand, and that is body language. In charades, it's not the only time when you need to tell someone you're an alligator or that you want to go to sleep. Through my experience, I feel that people forget the power of body language. Body language is not only used to instill self-confidence or gain other people's respect, but to communicate everyday needs and wants. I was born an apparently healthy baby 4 weeks early. At the age of 4, my family members began to notice that I wasn't responding to sound as well. From that point on, they found out that I was hard of hearing. And from then on, I lived my life as a hard of hearing person. It wasn't until I made my transition from middle school to high school that I noticed that I was different, that my ability to hear made a difference in social situations and the way kids my age treated me. At that point, I knew American Sign Language, a systematic language where the user uses their hands to produce signs. Unfortunately, not everyone knew sign language, and I had to rely on my ability to speak, to communicate, and my hearing aids to understand what is happening around me. I came to Cal State Northridge as a kinesiology major, initially inspiring to become a physical therapist. Then a question appeared in my mind that I'm sure has appeared in many of yours. Is this what I want to do? Is this my purpose? Is this me? Instead of actively seeking answers to those questions, I stayed in my comfort zone, resorting not to take a risk. Not taking a risk has many consequences, just as taking one does. Whether we take a risk or not depends on our perception of the risk and our perceived outcome. But there's a problem with our perception of risk. When something is risky, we tend to perceive it as negative, as uncomfortable, as harmful, and we do anything to prevent the worst from happening. We feel it, perceive it, doubtful of our abilities, fear of the uncertainty, all the what ifs. And we do this every day. I feel this is the problem many college students face, especially in a chapter of their lives where they have to decide which career they want to pursue. It's like choosing what shoe to wear. There's so many options, so many possibilities, so many questions. Is this match me? Is this what I want to do? Is this my purpose? But many students do not find the answers to those questions. Internships are an ideal way to find answers to those questions, but unfortunately, there are not enough students gaining internship experience. A national survey in 2012 found that college graduates who graduating in 2012, only 37% had some internship experience. It seems good, but the number should be higher because a study in 2004 found that students who have internship experience were 4.4 times more likely to obtain a job compared to those who didn't. So we see that employers are looking for people who have experience. How else does internships benefit the students? Remember those questions, is this me? Is this who I am? Is this what I want to do? Research has found that gaining experience through internship has been related to higher levels of self-concept crystallization. What this means is we begin to develop more ideas about who we are, and things become clearer about what we like and what we don't like. We find the pieces that make us who we are, and we develop our passions over time. Students forget that there's another side to taking a risk, and that is an opportunity to learn and grow, like a seed becoming a flower. Experience is the water to that seed. It's an opportunity to learn what you might like or not. It's an opportunity to find what you're capable of and your potential. What I just demonstrated to you earlier when I was trying to get everyone to stand up is what is called the silent workout. It's something that I created as a result of getting involved, of taking a risk, of getting an internship. I got involved with 100 Citizens, which is a free group exercise program that is run by kinesiology students of CSUM. It is a program that focuses on gathering the community and helping them reach the minimum physical activity recommendations that facilitate a healthy lifestyle. It is a program that empowers the participants and the students alike to take control of their lives, of their destiny. Now, here I am, a group exercise instructor, surrounded by participants who speak Spanish. I'm a deaf person, so I'm already overwhelmed by the language barrier. And I'm thinking, how I understand them? How would they understand me? It wasn't until a deaf friend of mine attended to a 100 Citizens workout where she didn't understand anything that was happening. And I became angry, frustrated, because we as deaf people face the language barrier every day. And I realized that the participants who speak Spanish probably face that language barrier too. Then it clicked. We can demonstrate exercise through the use of body language without any need for verbal cues. And then that way, everyone is connected. Everyone understands what is happening. My research is focused on utilizing my experiences as a student in a way that will motivate the students who in the classroom that I enter, and hopefully get them to take a risk and get involved. I plan to go into 5 classrooms and give a motivational speech just like this one, and analyze their survey responses to see whether their perception on risk-taking and getting involved has changed. People, parents, professionals, professors, they all tell their students to get involved, but they still don't get it. I feel with my unique experience and me as a unique individual, I can hopefully inspire them to get off their feet. There is one quote that can sum up the whole 8-minute talk. Tell me, and I forget. Show me, and I remember. Involve me, and I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. My question is, you said you were planning on taking your research to different classes. Were you planning on undergrad students or graduate students, or which majors were you going to aim for?
Yeah. So the main classes I'm focusing on are Kinesiology 200 students, which are undergraduates, and University 100 students. The reason I chose these classes were because these students are freshmen and sophomores who, like myself, are wondering what they have to do. And maybe they're scared to decide what they can do. So that's why I want to go in those classes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One.
When you had that, your friend went to your class and couldn't understand anything, what was it like when you, how did you formulate the awareness that you needed to use body language more and jump over that hurdle?
Okay. Interestingly, because I'm a kinesiology student and I go to these workouts, even though I don't understand the verbal commands, I know what exercises to do. So it didn't occur to me that there was a problem with the communication happening. My deaf friend Kate, she has no background in exercise whatsoever. And there's many deaf people like her. So when she didn't understand, they're showing the exercises really fast, or they're just talking and talking and talking, and then she's looking at me too often, way too often. And I was like, oh, there's a problem. There's a problem here. The participants don't probably say anything either. They're so used to it happening that they don't say anything. And now I'm happy I'm saying something now. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Matt. Any presentation that starts with physical activity is a good one, right? It's going to be an excellent one. So you can see some of that Buzz Lightyear energy that Matt has. Okay, well, our next speaker comes to us from the Department of Kinesiology, and he says, a career in the NBA actually didn't work out, but he's still hopeful. He's still not given up hope on that. So please welcome Christopher Balan, and he will be sharing with us an approach to a progressive and standardized exercise curriculum for a free community-based fitness program for high-fit individuals. Chair is Dr. Stephen Loy. Christopher?
Thank you, Dr. Burke. Hey, everyone. All right, NBA teams watching. I'm still available, free agent. Okay. So to begin, I would like all of you to close your eyes. I would like you to imagine with me for a second. Imagine that you've just started a new exercise routine. You've been completing all of your workouts diligently. You've begun to eat healthier. You're starting to feel better about yourself. A couple of weeks go by, and you can notice some changes. The 2-lap warm-up that you do is beginning to feel a lot less like cruel and unusual punishment. You transition to doing push-ups off of your knees onto your hands and your toes. Changes are occurring, and everything seems to be falling in place. Now let's go ahead and fast forward 6 months. You've noticed a plateau. The 2-lap warm-up we just talked about, it doesn't seem to be getting any easier no matter what pair of Nike Frees you're wearing. The push-ups, for the life of you, you cannot get past 10. When you step on the scale, your weight is in a constant tango between 160 and 165. What's happening? You've been completing all of your workouts diligently. You even pack your own lunch 4 days out of the week to avoid the temptation to go into Chipotle on your lunch hour with your coworkers. You're stuck. All right, everyone, go ahead, open your eyes. So imagine if you had a team of people to help you along the way, to troubleshoot when you find yourself stuck, people to help you along the way when you need motivation, you need that extra push. So for just under 3 years, in my time at Cal State Northridge, I've been a part of a program that does just that. We are affordable, sustainable, accessible, and replicable. We're affordable because we come at zero cost to participants. We're sustainable because we use interns. And everyone knows what interns are, right? Free labor. Just kidding. It's a two-way street, though. They get the skills necessary to be competent individuals in the field and be competitive for jobs. We're accessible because we're located in public parks, so we're right in the hearts of the community, where we want to affect the people most. And also, we're replicable. As long as there's a kinesiology program, a public park, and some students willing to go out, any university can have what we have. The program that I'm alluding to is 100 Citizens. So like I just said, for just under 3 years, I've been a part of this program, and every year we've done something to evolve, to make ourselves better and to better reach and affect those that we want to. In 2012, when I first began, we were all in a very small basketball court in an enormous park. We had 15 participants that came daily. Today, that same park sees about 100 participants 3 days out of the week, and we use the entirety of the park. In 2013, we saw a need for kinesiology to hold a place in public health, so we created a diabetes prevention program. Now, I believe I know what our next step is. After analyzing the program and breaking it down to its smallest pieces and discussing this with my colleagues, I believe that our next step is a standardized exercise curriculum. As a program, we've done really well about getting people out, getting them active, getting them moving, but we haven't always done the best at making sure it's progressive and taking them from point A to point B. We see those initial results, and then sometimes there is that plateau, and although we are there and we're knowledgeable to help them, our programming didn't always reflect it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement a 12-week program that has a progressive manner so we can take people from point A to point B. We're going to have better goal setting. What we're going to do is we're going to implement testing so you know where you are throughout the process, so we don't have to have that frustration. You're going to know where you are and how far you need to go. And lastly, all those things combined is going to provide a better sense of direction. All right. So you're going to think to yourself, why is this important? Why is being high fit so valuable to me? Well, in 2008, the cost of obesity in the United States was $147 billion. That is a lot of money for something that is so preventable, so easily nullified just through some education and some people caring. You may think to yourself, I'm fit, how does that affect me? Well, a lot of times we don't think about how this affects the ones that we love, our family members, our friends that may be suffering from obesity and physical inactivity. Our healthcare premiums increasing because as a country, we are getting bigger, we're getting less active, and we have a lot of diseases and illnesses that are associated with those factors. So right here, we have one of my favorite participants. His name is Jose Montalongo, and I think he embodies what I think that I love to do. All right, I love pushing forward, I love striving, going for more. And it's because of participants like him within our program that I want to give back more. I want to strive with the program. I want to make this program incredible. So, there are some difficulties though. It's not just as easy as starting a new workout routine. No, we'll throw in some TRX, boom, we're done, we're solved. No, it's not always that simple. There are some other things that complicate this process a little bit. So, ¿te hablas español? So a lot of our participants, they are Spanish speaking only. And although I speak a little bit of Spanish, usually enough to get the point across, this does complicate our efforts for interns who have never spoke Spanish. So what we have to think about is, what do we have to do to become better? You don't realize how frustrating some of the things in Spanish are, so you have to create names for them. Right here, she's using cuerdas batallas, better known as battle ropes. All right, so after a couple weeks of me trying to get used to saying that and having my participants laugh at me a little bit for my bad accent, everyone got used to it. I feel like it formed a better bond between all of us. And our interns, they love that too. All right, so now what we're thinking is that when we have this program, we're implementing it, we're caring about our participants, we're gonna have a better sense of direction. We're gonna know where we're going, and we're gonna journey strong because we're journeying together. Hopefully, along the way, we can make this fun for our participants. All right, so we don't have to revisit that very frustrating situation that we just talked about in the beginning, where you're thinking, oh my God, there's nowhere to go. I have no sense of direction. I don't know what the next step is. So, I challenge all of you to go out, try something to challenge your fitness. Be 1% better than you were yesterday, and to be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Excuse me. My first question is, you mentioned the standardized exercise program that you would develop, kind of this progressive program.
Yes.
What would you base the development off of? Another standardized program that has been used elsewhere, or your own program in collaboration?
So we're still in the process of determining our methodology. So what I believe where we'll go next is using high-intensity interval training, but it will not be based off another program, because typically programs with high-intensity interval training, you have heart rate monitors to determine everything. Because we're a free program, we don't have the funds for that, but I have been doing a lot of reading where it shows you don't have to have that material to implement something similar to a high-intensity interval training. So I think I'm going to be using a different variation of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
He could motivate, me to use battle ropes, and I'm frightened of jump ropes. So what? I think the NBA may be calling him next week. So thank you, Christopher, for that wonderful presentation. And I want to remind everyone too in the audience that, the researchers, some are very new to their research, meaning they may have not even had their proposal yet. They sort of contacted us and had this interest in doing this, so we were like, come on board, find scholars, we're so excited. You'll see that kinesiology is very well represented, as always, with research here, and I talked to Stephen Loy and Dr. Loy, and I said, well, it'd be great if your students could participate, and join in, and he said, oh no, they will be there. They will be participating, Sloan. So extra special thanks to all of Dr. Loy's participants and kinesiology for being so well represented. All right, our next speaker is from the Department of Kinesiology. Here we go. And Allison Lang. Allison is fantastic, dynamic individual, and she shared a little fact about herself and said that, well, I was in a sorority in undergrad, not graduate school. She was quick to correct me on that. She says, but I am in the sorority for life, just so you know. So all aspects are covered there with her sorority involvement. We're excited to have Allison Lang, and she is presenting on the effects of aquatic exercise on gait and strength outcomes in individuals with multiple sclerosis. And her thesis chair is Tai-Yu Zhang.
So who here is wearing shoes? Perfect. And who here is wearing shoes that have laces? Wonderful. So if you guys could actually go ahead and untie your shoes for me. Yes, right now. Perfect. I know. Do, 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 do. right, wonderful. Go ahead and tie them again. Tie them up, nice and tight. Perfect. Okay, so you might even be thinking right now, why did she ask me to tie my shoes? Oh my God, am I supposed to be wearing shoes today? I wore flip-flops. Am I supposed to be in shoes? I didn't even get the attire for today. It's okay. So you might have even thought to yourself, what style of tying my shoe did I use? Did I use the bunny ear method? Did I use the over and under method? These tasks come simple to you and I, tying our shoe, such as brushing our teeth, putting on a shirt, or even walking. It's somewhat automatic to us. And when you were a kid, you may have even thrown a tantrum yourself or seen your niece and nephew throw a tantrum to get these tasks performed for them. However, individuals with multiple sclerosis, these tasks don't come as easy to them. They have muscle weakness and a high level of fatigue that just comes on sometimes just because. So when I was 16, I'm going to tell you a story, and it all started on the softball field. I was at practice, I was running, I was throwing, I was pitching. Yes, I was a pitcher. And all of a sudden, I bent down because my shoe was untied. But I couldn't go all the way. I couldn't tie my shoe. And in a split second, my life flashed before my eyes. All these thoughts came. Why can't I bend down all the way? Can I even come up from this position? What's wrong? I had to sit out the rest of practice. And I went home that night. I didn't shower, and I went straight to bed. And I know what you might be thinking. Ew, that's really gross. She was at practice. She was running and sweating. But I'm sure all of us have skipped a shower before. Anyways, I went to sleep. I slept on my back the entire night. I couldn't roll over, and waking up in the morning, I couldn't even sit up. I thought I was paralyzed, and it wasn't until I enrolled in aquatic therapy where I was able to strengthen my legs, and able to strengthen my lower back and my core, all the things necessary for me to be able to walk again. And when I mean walk, I mean I was taking baby steps, tiny little steps. And that's okay, because eventually I can walk. Now, I'm okay, and I had a slip disc that was pinching my nerves that caused excruciating pain, and I couldn't bend without having this pain. And I'm okay today, but it was only because of the aquatic therapy I was able to get onto land in order to better myself. So thinking about a thesis topic, I thought, why not do something in the water? Why not put a population that has difficulty, limitations such that I experience, in the water? And I thought of my aunt. My aunt has multiple sclerosis. And multiple sclerosis has confined her to a wheelchair. She has 2 boys. Just imagine that in itself. They run around, they're playing in their sports, and she can't engage in the physical activity with them because she's confined to a wheelchair. So multiple sclerosis affects the brain and the spinal cord. It affects it in a way that, think about this, like you did your shoe in the beginning and how you tied it, that came easy to you, right? It was smooth. The signals were sent from your brain to your muscles in order to perform that task. Came out like running water, nice and smooth. But individuals who have multiple sclerosis, those signals are disrupted, like dripping water. So multiple sclerosis affects 2.1 million people in the United States alone. I'm not even going to get into what it is worldwide. That's a lot of people. And clinicians and researchers never prescribed exercise a while back. However, now they're prescribing exercise as a form to get them moving, to get them to better themselves. But what about aquatic exercise? It's becoming increasingly popular. It's becoming so popular that now researchers are putting people who have multiple sclerosis in the water, which is why I've decided, why not put them in the water and have them have the feeling that I had, the feeling of being light as a feather. In order to walk in the water, I felt really light. I could take big, long strides. I could do this motion. But on land, I was walking like the baby. So putting people with multiple sclerosis in the water, that's where my mind was going with this. So let's put them in a 10-week aquatic intervention where they have 10 people in the water who have multiple sclerosis and 10 people out of the water who still have multiple sclerosis, but they're living their daily lives. They're just going throughout their day and doing what they do. However, the 10 people in the water, they're performing exercises, balancing, strengthening, walking, anything to get them moving in the water as easy as they can compared to land. Now, I would test them prior to getting into the water and after they're done the 10 weeks program. I want to see if there are changes in their gait, in their walking. Do their strides get bigger? Do their steps get longer? Do they have more knee movement? Can they pick their knees up higher than they did before? How would I do that? I would capture it by a 3D analysis system that I would use in order to see if they get better or worse. Same thing with the people who just go throughout their lives. Same thing. I would do the exact same thing pre and post. But not only that, what about their leg strength? Does that get better? Does that improve their walking? Is there a correlation between that? I want to see this. I want to see if the water can help individuals with multiple sclerosis. So think back to how you tied your shoe in the beginning. Think back to how you put on your shirt and how walking can just be automatic for you. I don't think you'll take that for granted. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. The one question I have is, did you come across any research recently or within the past few years on how aquatic therapy would change people's lives? Have you seen any of those research?
Yes, I have seen research that has bettered the lives of individuals with multiple sclerosis. There's one that I'm kind of formulating it after as far as the exercises that we'll be doing in the water, so I'm not just making them up myself, but also quality of life. Questionnaires, it has improved in previous research.
Thank you again for your presentation. I do have a question as well.
Sure.
When you were deciding on what groups to choose for the interventions, were you thinking about kind of excluding or including any different age criteria, any specific populations, just in your initial plans? Do you know, because MS I know can affect multiple ages of people. Were you planning on restricting it by, for example, age?
So it's going to be 18 and up from there. I didn't really want to discriminate the age range, but 18 to have consent from them. But deciding on multiple sclerosis, that was simple and easy, just because my aunt has it, so it hits home. It's something I'm passionate about. And I'm also partnered with somebody else who's looking at a balance aspect. So, and that person also, it hits home to them. So it was pretty simple to choose the multiple sclerosis.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Allison. Touching and impressive research. Okay, so our next speaker is Brittany Barfield, and she comes from the Department of Kinesiology. She shared that she is a matador. She received her undergraduate here at CSUN and is in the master's program here at CSUN, and will probably find a PhD program for her at CSUN, so she'll continue on. No. She is going to discuss an approach to a progressive and standardized exercise curriculum for a free community-based fitness program for moderately fit individuals. Brittany.
Thank you. All right. So meet Russ. 3 years ago, Russ took a trip out to the lake with a group of his friends. He decided to take a dive into the lake. Little did he know how shallow the waters were. He broke his neck and was instantly paralyzed, termed a quadriplegic. Russ is a father of two and a true inspiration to many. As you can see, Russ continues to hold his head high and never lives a day with regret. Every day, Russ is faced with a wall that one day he hopes to overcome. But motivation and drive is nothing Russ needs, because he knows he has a strong team behind him, and he chose exercise as his medicine. Now, how many of you can say you've ever hit a brick wall? We just mentioned Russ's wall, but everyone's walls are different. How many can say they've hit a brick wall with health or exercise? Many times we begin an exercise program, whether we start at a gym or take classes, Pilates or yoga, and we begin and we're so excited. This time we're gonna reach our goals, we're gonna lose the weight we've always wanted to lose, we're gonna fit in those pants we no longer fit in. But then a few weeks go by and you're no longer motivated. You no longer have that drive to reach your goal. Why? Because no one holds you accountable. Because no one is there to help push you over this wall. But what if you had a team that can help push you over the wall, a team that can keep you inspired and motivated? And what if these team members comprised of your community? Did you know that in the LA County alone, there are 3.8 million people? 3.8 million people. And how many of you can say that you're actually know members of your community or a part of your community? I know I can't. But what if there was a way to bring members of your community, those who have common goals with health and wellness, together to achieve a goal? Well, this can be done with 100 Citizens. 100 Citizens is a free community-based program offered to the community and led by kinesiology students. These students get to take what they learn in class and implement it into the program. The 100 Citizens program is an hour program that targets all components of fitness and is a total body workout. The best part about this program is every day it's completely different. So you never can get bored of your exercises. 100 Citizens targets all men and women of all populations. We have the low fit individuals, the moderately fit individuals, and the advanced. Now, there are many benefits to exercise, many that I can list all day long for you, but I'm only gonna go over a few today. Let's start with the obvious, weight loss. Did you know that by decreasing your fat by 5 to 7%, you decrease your risk of getting type 2 diabetes? Or did you know that exercise improves your memory, your mood, and most importantly, decreases your chances of getting or having a stroke or cardiovascular disease? This team right here is my group that I'll be focusing on for my thesis. This is a group comprised of the moderately fit individuals at La Crescenta Park. This group right here has a baseline of exercise, but are ready for the next push. They're working hard, they're sweating every day, and they're starting to see improvements, visual improvements. They step on the scale and they're seeing the number drop, their clothes are becoming looser, they're seeing their muscles. But what happens when they hit that wall? When they hit that wall and they no longer see improvements? Do they quit? Do they give up? Is that it? They're no longer going to make progress? What if there was a way in which I can show them that you will continue to make progress? This is why, for my thesis, I would like to target the components of exercise and show them how much they continue to progress. I will be testing their cardio, their flexibility, their muscle endurance, and their body composition. I will be testing them at the beginning of a 12-week period and at the end as well to show their progress. With my data, I not only can show the validity of this program, but I can show that yes, you continue to improve, and I can keep them motivated with their results. Now, like Russ, we may not be faced every day with a wall, but if we had a team to help push us over that wall, it would be so much easier. So, by yourself, it's impossible to break through a wall. But if you had a team to help you, you can break through this wall easily, because with a team, you can achieve greatness. That's it.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I did have a question. You mentioned the group of individuals you'd be working with, and you showed the picture of the individuals that were in the program. You mentioned they were moderately fit individuals. How did you assess that? And do you have different groups, the moderately fit and the not so fit?
So like I mentioned, we target a wide variety of population where we have the low fit individuals, the moderately fit individuals, and the high fit individuals. For us, we call these teams the Let's Get Moving, where they're beginning to work out. the active lifestyle, where they're now getting into exercise. They've built a baseline, which is the group that I talked about. And then there's the performance individuals who are at the next level up. And those are the individuals that I'll be targeting, is the ones in the middle.
And it's measured based on kind of motivation or weight?
Yeah,
or...
so through our thesis project that we're still determining, we are going to set guidelines for what is established within each group. By testing their cardio, their flexibility, their muscle endurance, we'll be able to see where each group stands, and where if they reach this peak of one group, they're ready to move on to the next group, and that's what our thesis will show.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brittany. For any wall we can overcome it, right, with the team. I did want to reiterate that, questions can be posed beyond just the judges, okay? So don't be shy. Don't be shy back there. All right, well, our next speaker she shared a touching story of how she became engaged and inspired for her research. She was a winter camp counselor, and as such, there was a student, one of the students that was elementary age, was wheelchair bound. And the only way the student could play tag was by her caretaking and by her assistance. And that touched her so greatly that she thought, this is really where I want to establish my research. So we are pleased to have Eliana Hurtado from the Department of Kinesiology. Her thesis title is Comparing the Influence of Visual Feedback on Gait Outcomes in People Post-Stroke. Chair is Tai-Yu Jung. Eliana?
Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to tell all of you about one of my favorite clients. Now, I think he's kind of a character. I've been working with him on and off for the past 3 years. I can tell you lots of things about him. He's an avid hockey fan, loves playing video games, excuse me. He enjoys spending time with his son, and he also enjoys doing spontaneous things for his wife every once in a while. I can also tell you the 4 things that he would love to do with his left hand again. The first one is to make this shape with his hand, put it to his forehead, and call somebody a loser. The second one is that he would love to give his son a thumbs up after doing anything great. And the third is that he would love to be able to pick his nose again with his left hand, because we all know that's a necessity. And finally, he would thoroughly enjoy the ability to flip somebody off. Now, I'm obviously not going to demonstrate that. His name is John, and as you can see, we work on his hand as well as his gait, or his walking pattern. This is because a few years ago, John survived a stroke. Now, in the time that it's taken me to tell you about this man, 4 people in the United States have experienced a stroke. Stroke is the leading cause of long-term disability in the United States. And most of the time after someone has experienced a stroke, they have immediate effects. And some people have more long-lasting permanent effects. Some people lose the ability to walk. Not everybody, and those are the people that I plan to work with. For these people who've had a stroke and find it challenging to walk again, something that you and I take for granted, just walking around to and from your car with someone on a walk, I would love to work with these individuals, and I would love to work on improving their walking pattern. This has been done before with this population, but no one's done it quite the way that I want to do it, with real-time visual feedback. And before I get into all the technicalities and all that fun scientific stuff, let's go ahead and go through what a stroke is exactly. Most of you have heard of a stroke. Most of you know that it happens in the brain. A stroke is defined as a bleed or a block, a disruption of blood flow in the brain. So in order to describe this a little easier for you guys, I want you to imagine the freeway on a Sunday morning, bright and early, no traffic, clear. All the cars and passengers can get exactly where they need to go. All the roadways and freeways are intact. This is what your brain is like when it's working properly. Oxygen, nutrients can get exactly where it needs to get. All the blood vessels are intact and in working order. Now go ahead and imagine for me the 405. At 5 p.m. on possibly Friday. And you guys are going along nice and slow, and all of a sudden, everybody slams on their brakes. There's rear-ending, there's smoke, there's honking. Nothing's getting where it needs to go. The blood, the nutrients can no longer get to the location that it needs to be. And the brain is deprived. This is an ischemic stroke. The second type is more like if you have all these cars on the freeway, but they're driving by, they're flying 100 miles an hour. Everybody's moving, but there's not enough room to switch lanes. And then all of a sudden, the unthinkable happens. The freeway beneath you just breaks down. It disintegrates. It falls away. Cars fly everywhere into buildings, trees, sirens, chaos. The blood bleeds out in the brain, and this also causes damage in tissue. This is a hemorrhagic stroke. As I said before, a stroke can happen anywhere in the brain. However, if that stroke occurs on the left hemisphere, the right side of the body is affected physically. And if the right hemisphere, the left. Wherever the stroke occurs in the brain can be different for every individual, as well as the magnitude of that stroke, the tissue damage, the tissue death. And that's why everybody's stroke is a little different. So what I want to do is work with these people on their walking. So what's been established? Scholars and clinicians have found that there are 4 very common gait or walking pattern deviations that occur after having had a stroke. The first one is drop foot. Their foot drops, they lack the ability to bring their foot up and sometimes clear the floor. The second one is that they spend a longer time in double stance phase than you or I, the normal population. And the third is that they have a decreased movement and angle at the ankle, the knee, as well as the hip. And lastly, there's an increase in circumduction. So if you bring these all together, a typical gait for an individual who's had a stroke looks something like this. It's not very fast, it's not very functional. So how am I gonna measure this? How am I gonna look at this? What do I hope to achieve? Well, for my thesis, I get to turn this into this. Kind of cool, right? So I'm going to be doing collection with them before as well as after my intervention. Now, I haven't done it yet, but for my intervention, I would love to have all of my participants who've had a stroke walk on this treadmill. This is not just any treadmill. This is a pretty cool treadmill. Underneath the belt, it has force plates, and those force plates detect where your foot made contact. As you can see to the right, there's a left footprint. That is where the participant's left foot has already made contact. That box on the right is predicting the optimal step length for that right foot. And that's something that you don't get walking and training with a physical therapist or with someone one-on-one in the street or in a hallway. That's something that I really want to isolate. I want to see the effect of that. My control group will be walking on the same exact treadmill. The only difference, they have no visual feedback. I will be obstructing it. Why should you care what I'm doing for my thesis? Well, I can't tell you why you should care, but I can tell you why I care. I care because I've worked with individuals who've had a stroke, and I know that for a lot of them, they miss going on walks with their loved ones. They miss enjoying the park or walking with their grandchildren. And I really hope to contribute some concrete proof to the scientific as well as the general community. I want to be able to say, this helps, we should do this more. And I would love for them to regain a little bit of their independence back. Now, John, that we talked about earlier, has recently gained a little bit of his independence back. He recently got his license back. And he's working on that thumbs up for his son. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is a little bit technical because I didn't quite understand the technical part of your research.
Okay.
How many patients were you going to take?
I'm hoping to have 42 participants.
42. And that machine, there's only one machine to be used?
There's one treadmill, correct.
Okay, so for 42 patients, how long do you think that would take?
Well, my plan is to have an 8-week intervention for each individual, and I'm not expecting everyone to volunteer at the same time. So I'm thinking it's going to take me at least 3 to 4 months to get all of that done and processed.
Okay. And the other question that I had is, that's your timing.
Yeah, Monday.
Were you thinking about, does it matter, I guess this is another question about people with stroke, morning or afternoon or later during the day? Would the timing of the day matter as far as their movement?
Some articles that I've looked at say that it matters, so what I would like to do, just to keep it as unconfounding as possible, is to keep the same time for each person. So if they choose to come in the morning, it's always the morning.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anything else? Oh, yes?
The 42 participants, are they all from the Brown Center?
No, actually, I'm not able to recruit from the Brown Center as they already have an ongoing exercise program. So I have to go out to other groups and other organizations so that there's no confounding evidence.
That was my follow-up question.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Eliana. And John's story was so touching and inspirational. Our next speaker is Chelsea Yanagida, and I have to share this fun trivia, everyone. The last time Chelsea was on this stage was for her 5th grade graduation. Okay, but wait, it gets better. It gets better. She was one of the designated speakers for her graduation. They only chose 4. I know, we still got to applaud her. She's carrying this tradition. There's good chi on the stage for Chelsea. So just a cute little fact there. So as I mentioned, Chelsea will, she comes from us from the Department of Kinesiology, again, very well represented. Chairs Dr. Stephen Loy, and I have the privilege also of serving on Chelsea's thesis committee. And she will be sharing with us an approach to a progressive and standardized exercise curriculum for a free community-based fitness program for low-fit individuals. So welcome, Chelsea.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Burke. Just a fun fact, I actually have grown since the last time I've been on stage. I know I'm kind of short, but indeed I have grown. All right. January 1st, the most popular day of the year where almost everyone wants to make some sort of change. A New Year's resolution. New year, new me, right? We're 44 days into the new year. Now let me tell you about my resolution. My resolution was to run 1 mile every week. Now if there's one thing that you need to know, it's that I really, really dislike running. I'm not gonna stand here and lecture about how I've accomplished my resolutions or how I'm the next Usain Bolt. I'll be honest with you all, I've probably only ran 3 times this year. I've made excuses that I'm sure we can all familiarize with, such as I'm too lazy, or I'm tired, or I'll do it tomorrow, I promise. But if there's something else I can tell you, it's that once I do get the motivation to run after a little push, I feel like I can conquer the world. I realize my potential, and I realize my potential. Oftentimes, we forget that as humans, we can achieve great things with just a little push. For example, we can climb Mount Everest or run 26.2 miles, or even become the President of the United States. We just have to recognize our potential. I recognize my own personal and academic potential through a program called 100 Citizens. As you've heard, 100 Citizens is a program that's run by kinesiology students here at Cal State University Northridge. Now, what do? We go into low-income communities and provide community members with exercise, whether they're members who have not exercised in a long period of time, or for individuals who are looking for a little bit of a challenge. We take what we learn in class and apply it in real-life situations and influence community members to become more healthy. Now, my experience through 100 Citizens is a great journey that I'm very thankful for, and it's provided me with opportunities to recognize my own potential. In the fall of 2013, I started as an assistant instructor at 100 Citizens. I was shy and timid as I helped lead instructors. However, the next semester, I myself became a lead instructor and was able to confidently lead a group of 20+ individuals through an exercise routine. After 1 year of becoming a lead instructor, I had been honored with becoming an assistant exercise director for one of our 4 programs. It was through this journey that I was able to recognize my potential and be confident in my skills as a kinesiologist and also gain leadership skills. It was through these skills recognized that I was chosen to be part of the planning committee for the Providence Holy Cross Healthy San Fernando 5K Relay Walker Run. This was a first-time event for the city of San Fernando, where we had 650 individuals who were part of multi-generations of families who exercised together all morning. I worked alongside professionals to complete coordination and marketing tasks. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I had the capability and the potential to achieve this. All right, with the support of the kinesiology department here, I was able to achieve such a thing, as well as the willingness to push myself to do something new. The 100 Citizens program provides individuals with experiences that they may not be able to get in the classroom. Also, this program has set me and other kinesiology students up for future jobs in public health and parks and recreation. Now, I've talked about why this program is so important to me, but why is it important to the community, and what role does kinesiology play? More than 2/3 of adults in the United States are considered overweight or obese. That's 65% of our adult population in the US. Overweight and obesity continues to be one of the leading problems in public health. And 100 Citizens targets just that. Typically, overweight and obesity affects those who do not exercise or who have not exercised in a prolonged period of time. This leads to health problems such as type 2 diabetes and can rack up trillions of dollars in medical bills. However, things such as time, cost, and motivation are roadblocks that keep people from living a healthy lifestyle. However, as I mentioned before, we all have the potential to achieve great things if we put our mind to it. For example, all these individuals have the potential to live a healthy lifestyle. With CSUN students providing the community with free exercise, we give the community members an opportunity to not just be a statistic. The 100 Citizens program is very good at meeting the CDC's requirements for 150 minutes of physical activity per week. However, when I became a graduate student here in kinesiology, I recognized there is a lack of structure in our exercise instruction. For example, one week we would work on balance, and we wouldn't work on balance again for another 3 to 4 weeks. The 100 Citizens program has 3 different levels: an introductory level for low-fit individuals, a moderate group for moderately fit individuals, and a performance group for high-fit individuals. So for my thesis, I will be collecting data in the summer and working with low-fit individuals who may be affected by obesity, a sedentary lifestyle, or being overweight. These individuals are the group of people that I will be working with, and we target obesity and all the problems that I had mentioned through low-impact and modified exercises. Through being in our program thus far, for working out with us for 1 hour for 3 days a week, these individuals have become healthy role models in their communities and for their families and their friends. So it's my goal with my thesis to progress these individuals so that they may improve in all areas of fitness and not just meet the CDC's requirements for 150 minutes of physical activity per day. Pictured here are students and participants at our 100 Citizens program in San Fernando. I've had the opportunity to grow and recognize my potential alongside all these students and participants. We've all recognized our need for change and growth and challenged ourselves and recognized our potential for all that we can achieve, whether it's in our academic life or our well-being. We all have the potential to do great things if we just put our mind to it, to gain that experience so we're ready when we come into the professional world, or to just improve our health by starting an exercise program. We do have that potential to achieve whatever we put our mind to. So, I want you to think, the next time you make a resolution, don't wait for January 1st. Make that change now, so we no longer have to make yearly resolutions. So I want you all to recognize your potential, become a leader, and be an influence to those around you, and not just wait till January 1st to make a big change in your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. One question I had, when you mentioned you would like the lower fit individuals, the groups you'll be working with on your thesis, you mentioned you'd like them to improve in all aspects of, I think you said fitness or kind of physical activity. What are the different aspects that you're looking at or defining?
All right, it might have been mentioned earlier, but we were looking on increasing cardiovascular endurance, flexibility, and muscular strength, and body composition overall.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chelsea. 100 citizens. All right. Excellent. I love it. I'm getting laughs just by kind of saying 100 citizens. I'll start singing. Don't tempt me now. Okay, so our next speaker is Liz Garcia, but I first want, is there a shout out? I've got a shout out to Jessie. Is Jessie? Yes, Jessie! Okay, there's a story here. Jessie, talk about an amazing friend. She flew all the way from Georgia to support her friend Liz. I mean, is that not like special? So thank you, Jessie. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. It's just so important to have that support through friends and family. And we were so touched by some of the students that said, I'm so glad that this is going to be webcasted because then I can share it with my family member in Maine or Arizona or, it's just, but to have an actual friend here in the audience, fantastic, absolutely amazing. So, as I said, our next speaker is Liz Garcia. She is with the Department of Kinesiology, and she is going to present on the effects of a telehealth exercise program on self-efficacy and adherence in individuals with Parkinson's disease. Chair is Dr. Terry Todd. Liz?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So before we begin, I want to ask you all a few questions. All right, so I want you all to raise your hands if you all got here independently. And what I mean by independently is you got in your cars, you rode a bike, you walked here. Let's go ahead. Raise those hands. All right, hands up. Okay. Keep those hands raised if you got a ride from someone. Okay. Keep those hands raised if you got a ride because you had a physical limitation. Well, for thousands of individuals in the United States, this is a reality. They have physical limitations that keep them going from point A to point B. And what population do you think I'm talking about? Well, this population we've all encountered, and it's they're near and true to our hearts. I'm talking about the older population, the 65 and over crowd, or as we like to refer to them as the baby boomer generation. And the baby boomer generation has seen an increase from 2000 to 2010, 15% increase in the population. And as of 2010, there's been about 40.3 million people in the United States 65 and over. So as you and I don't think that there's a limitation with getting to point A to point B, this 65 and over population might see difficulties getting to the grocery store and having to get a ride to go to their doctor's appointments. And there's a specific disability that targets the 65 and over crowd. That disability is Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disease. What I mean by neurodegenerative is that there is a degeneration in a chemical in our brain that affects the way we move, our sleep patterns, and as the disease progresses, begins to affect more of our activities of daily living, things that you and I would take for granted, such as brushing our teeth or even driving our car. So why is this important? Why is this relevant? Well, people with Parkinson's disease are 20 to 30% less active and less engaged in exercise than their healthy peers. And most importantly, people with Parkinson's disease also have activity limitations due to fear of falling. And why is that relevant? Well, as you and I know, decreases in physical activity lead to further health complications. So now we have a sedentary population, and they're not getting out. And now we're going to see more of this domino effect happening in their health. It's going to start leading to further health complications. So when it came time to start thinking about my thesis, I was like, well, I want to think of something where I can bring exercise to people who may be less apt to leave the house. So a conversation I remember having with my undergraduate mentor, Dr. Stephen Loy, about filling the gap and making that your own. And through another conversation that I had with a senior graduate mentor, we came to thinking about how we could fill the gap between the community and exercise. And that's something we need to bridge. So I thought, well, maybe I can do an exercise program for people in their home who are less apt to leave the house. So I got to thinking, okay, well, that's probably already been done before. But what if we use the most interconnected resource available on this earth, the internet? And before I begin talking about my thesis, I want to talk to you all about telehealth. So what is telehealth? Telehealth is bringing access or healthcare from a remote location. So think of it as a Skype session. We could be here at Cal State Northridge, and we can go ahead and connect with someone across the country or in a different country, right, thousands of miles away. Well, it's the same thing, but now we're just bringing access to care to those people who maybe are not as apt to leave the house. So how do you think I'm going to combine all this together? Well, I would like to I'm creating an exercise program, 12-week exercise program for people with Parkinson's disease that focuses on their balance, their strength, and mobility. And I'm going to be comparing two groups. Group A will have an exercise manual, be very similar, or actually the exact same as the other group. And this exercise manual will have all types of exercises that they can follow on their own. The other group, on the other hand, will be the telehealth group. And that telehealth group will sit in front of the computer with an exercise coach doing the same exact programming, but just during a live Skype session. And I'm hoping, and I'm comparing the two groups, and hoping that the telehealth group will increase in their self-efficacy and adherence. And self-efficacy is the perception of one's belief to complete a certain task or to complete a certain outcome. And exercise adherence, hoping that they are able to continue the exercise program for the 12 weeks. And research in telehealth has already seen positive results. Just recently, there was a research study done in people with Parkinson's disease using telehealth. They compared two groups. Group A went and received medical consultation, which means they got into their cars, just like a typical consultation, went to the consultation, came back home. Group B had the telehealth service, which they stayed at home in front of their computer. Both groups received the same care, but what was the biggest difference between the two? Time. Time was the biggest difference between both groups. Group A spent an average of 4 hours between commuting, consultation, and coming back home, whereas the telehealth group spent just 1 hour. And that's the biggest difference. If we have populations that are less apt to leave the house and rely on other people to get them to and from, why don't we bring the care to them? And this is the future of healthcare, and this is possibly the future of exercise. And so we've all been at the doctor's office, or we've heard of people, right, where the doctor's telling you, well, your blood pressure's too high, your cholesterol's too high, and you need to start losing some weight, and you need to get healthier. Well, for you and I, we could probably go to the gym, right? Probably, okay, I can get myself out there, and I can, engage in some exercise. I could probably follow it. Well, what if we see someone like this lady at the gym? Doesn't she look somewhat intimidating? Kind of overwhelm you? Especially for someone who doesn't partake in exercise. Well, for someone with Parkinson's disease, the gym might be completely out of the question. That's maybe not something that they might think about because they have other limitations, such as, well, if I have my walker, how do I get up the steps? Or what's the terrain like around the gym? Do I have to get dressed there? Who's going to help me? I don't know anything. That's why a home program is so important. That's why doing this type of programming brings the care to those who are less inclined to receive it or to seek it out themselves. So let's take, for example, a scenario. We'll include myself, and let's talk about Heather. And Heather is right now in Boston. And as we all know, the East Coast is getting bombarded with terrible weather, right? And they're up to their heads with snow. And Heather can't go to the gym. But Heather can go ahead and connect with me, and we can go ahead and do her exercise program. She could do her strength. We could do all that stuff at home where she doesn't have to leave the house. And we could do it in 1 hour. And the next hour after that, I can go ahead and connect with Carl. And Carl happens to be in Australia, thousands of miles away. And Carl has stage 4 Parkinson's disease. And Carl, of course, is going to have a little bit different exercise program than Heather did. And we can work on Carl's goals and Carl's needs. And in just 2 hours, I have touched the lives of 2 different people but with the same goal in mind, to better themselves. That's essentially all I really want to do. I want to just help people who can't help themselves. And I want to be able to reach out, and by using technology, I can be able to do that. I can reach out to people, which would almost be virtually impossible if I try to do it without technology. That's why I can't wait to start my research, and I'm so excited to go ahead and see if this type of programming helps motivate people to exercise. And this is where I fill the gap and fulfill my ambition to help others. How will you fill the gap? Thank you. Oh.
Thank you, Liz. One of the first questions that come to my mind is telehealth, and how would you reach individuals that, one, the 65 and older individuals that are not computer literate, and two, the ones that do not speak English?
Very good questions. So for the purpose of this thesis right now, we would like to just start it off to see if this is even feasible in people with Parkinson's disease. So part of our inclusion criteria is that they have some sort of, they know how to use a computer and stuff like that, just to see if we can get some baseline working from there. And the other question, I'm sorry, was?
Language.
The language barrier. Well, fortunately, I speak Spanish, but other languages, different countries, different languages can be a barrier. But for right now, we want to focus on those who just can communicate and write in English.
Thank you.
I just have one quick question as well. When you're planning to do the telehealth, which I think would be a great idea for getting people that might not otherwise be able to participate, are you thinking of, is there any equipment that you would require them to have?
Yeah, so we're looking at equipment that's going to be easy to put on. So not using dumbbells, because people with Parkinson's disease, we're talking about hand grip, that might be an issue. So my partner and I, we're pairing up together. We're going to be using cuff weights for the wrists and for the ankles. And it's a progressive exercise, self-selected progression exercise.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation, Liz. Technology is integrated into everything we do in the 21st century, and Liz is right there with her research, so fantastic work there. Okay, well, our next speaker shared with us that for those of you who have brothers, particularly older brothers, you can definitely relate to sometimes being a little bullied, maybe a little pushed around, right? So through that, when she was bullied and teased by her older brothers, she developed the nickname Murdoch. So she kind of went through life with this, nickname Murdoch, and then they kind of collectively discovered, from the A-Team, like Murdoch from the A-Team, but that wasn't the intention at all. So she's like, what? I have the nickname of a man in his 50s from the A-Team? What is this? What's going on? But she has kept the nickname and loves it, so you guys can refer to as Murdoch from now on. And that is speaker Marisol Diaz. She's with the Department of Kinesiology, and she's going to share with us 100 Citizens, the CSU expansion. Chair, Dr. Stephen Loy. Shall we say Murdoch? Marisol.
I want you to meet Irma. Irma started with 100 Citizens, and when she started with our program, she was recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. After 6 months of being, after 6 months of being with our program, she went to go visit her doctor, and her doctor was able to take her off her medication because she was able to control her sugar levels. I also want you to meet Margie. Margie had the fear of going onto the escalator and also going onto the stairs because she felt that her balance was very poor. She also felt that she didn't have enough strength in her grip to hold onto the rail. After being in 100 Citizens for 6 months, she was able to overcome her fear, and she is now able to go up the escalator without having that fear of falling. The CDC has created guidelines that the general population can follow so that they can become healthy through physical activity. They recommend 150 minutes to 300 minutes a week of moderate to moderate intensity exercise. But what do you think people do when they hear about this or when they read about these guidelines? They just walk. that is the reason why they just walk is because that's the only thing that they know. It's something that is accessible for them. But do you think that if Margie was just walked, would she be able to increase her strength in her grip? Do you think that she would be able to improve her balance by just walking? Probably not. So if we include a variety of exercises into our workout, exercises that focus on balance, exercises that focus on muscular strength, endurance, we will be able to see greater results in everyone. 100 Citizens focuses on teaching the community how to exercise with proper form, technique. They teach the community the benefits of exercise. We take them through a whole workout, but we don't just tell them to exercise. We also make sure that they do these exercises correctly so that they don't get injured. We help them understand the importance of these exercises. We also implement a 12-week diabetes prevention program that requires them to attend a 1-hour exercise class along with a 15-minute health education class 3 times a week. 100 Citizens in the last 4 years, 100 Citizens has made an impact in the city of San Fernando, in Canoga Park, Crescenta Valley, and in Silmar. Now, imagine if we were to expand this program to all of California. How many Margies and how many Irmas would we help? How many of them will we help to improve their quality of life? I'm currently working to create a manual that other universities will be able to use. This manual lists every step that we have taken to implement 100 Citizens. They will be able to use it as a guide. They will be able to use it as a guide and refer to it whenever they need to. I am also working on implementing a workshop in the next couple weeks where I have invited all Cal State universities to attend. Now, I want you to imagine if every kinesiology department in all 23 Cal State universities were to partner up with public parks to implement 100 Citizens, the results will probably be unimaginable. It will definitely improve the public's health. For this workshop, I have invited the rest of the CSUs, but one thing that we did do is also have them identify students to send to this workshop. We currently have 12 universities that will be attending the workshop. Throughout this workshop, we will take them through all of our procedures. They will be able to observe our program and how we implement and run the program, and they will be able to see the importance of kinesiology students within 100 Citizens. We will also show them the importance of data collection, of keeping rosters, and also the importance of partnering up with the public parks. They will be able to learn how to communicate with these public parks and build a very strong relationship. We will also teach them how they themselves can implement a safe workout exercise to the community that would fit everyone's fitness level, regardless if they're older adults, young adults, middle-aged, and they will also be able to learn how to modify these exercises. So 100 Citizens has 2 purposes. The purposes is to build healthier communities by providing a program that's accessible to them, but also to give the students an opportunity to gain work experience, to build on leadership skills, and also to be able to create jobs for them within the parks and recreation.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Marisol. One question I did have, you mentioned working with the other Cal States, the other CSU programs, and you mentioned universities with kinesiology programs, or that's who you might be connecting with. who are you intending on connecting with at the universities or providing the manual to in programs that don't have a kinesiology, or in universities that don't have a kinesiology program?
Well, for right now, we are only working with those that do have a kinesiology department. I have been working with my advisor, and he's also been contacting the faculties at different universities. I've also been in contact with the other departments through the students, so through Facebook, through their club emails. So I've been able to communicate with them, but also, as I mentioned, my professor has been able to communicate to the faculty, so the students are not just hearing it from the other students, but they're also hearing it from their own professors.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent, Marisol. Dr. Loy, Marisol, and the whole 100 Citizens crew want the CSU expansion in all 23 CSU campuses, and it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. Featured at the White House and growing. So exciting times. Our next speaker is from we're switching gears, not kinesiology. We are from the Department of Public Health. Yay! Okay. We are happy to share Caroline Hebron, and I'm actually the chair of her thesis, so I won't introduce myself as the chair. And I'm proud to work with Caroline. I call her affectionately Sweet Caroline, and I do sing the Neil Diamond song with her. And someone's leaving because they can't handle me doing the Sweet Caroline. We like to say that, she's in disguise. She is Canadian, but she only shares that with certain people. Some people, they never know. They never know. She goes below the radar. All right, so Caroline is going to share with you knowledge and attitudes towards hereditary inclusion, body myopathy, and genetic carrier screening. Sweet Caroline, all right.
Thank you, Dr. Burke. Hi, guys. So let's imagine the following scenario. You're 25 years old and hopefully no longer living at home with your parents, unlike me. After a quarter of a century of living a seemingly healthy life, you learn that you have a muscular disease. You begin to trip over yourself because you can no longer hold your foot up, and you have difficulty running or even walking. After visiting multiple doctors, you finally learn that you have a progressively debilitating neuromuscular disease. There is no cure or approved treatment. Soon, your new best friend will be a cane, and you'll be confined to a wheelchair in the next 10 years. This is a snapshot of what life is like living with hereditary inclusion body myopathy, or HIBM. I put a face to this disease last November when I had the opportunity to hear of the daily struggles of a patient named Maya who lives with this heart-wrenching disease. She spoke of the progressively debilitating losses she has endured since her diagnosis 6 years ago, and how this disease is a one-way street where physical losses, can never be regained. She can no longer pick up her infant son. So why am I telling you all of this? Simple, because the research that I'm conducting is aimed at preventing this genetic disease from being passed on to future generations. And why is it so important to me? Because of my community. Growing up in the Iranian Jewish community has had its challenges. As a Pur-Jew, short for Persian Jewish, my path has been explicitly dictated to me since childhood. I will get married prior to the age of 30. I will become either a doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, an orthodontist, a periodontist. Practically anything that has to do with shoving my hand into someone's mouth and having the doctor title to precede my name would suffice. Unfortunately for my mother, none of those things have panned out. Sorry, Mom, she's here. Interestingly, once I was accepted into my master's program here at CSUN, she shared her most empowering opinions with me. She said, Caroline, you're 27 years old. You're on the verge of reproductive expiration. When will you have time to get married and have children? You need to prioritize. Once again, I was reminded of my biological clock just ticking away. But what about, and also, I honestly, between you and I don't actually need another contributor to my overwhelming genetic predisposition to body hair. Thanks, though. So what about my genetics? What about my genes? Would it be ideal for me to marry another Iranian Jew? I had learned several years ago that genetic variation is actually key to healthy offspring, and thus began my research. What I uncovered was mind-blowing. Currently, there are 4 hereditary diseases which are prevalent in the Iranian Jewish community. Of these 4, HIBM in particular caught my attention due to its severity. It is a rare genetic disease which causes, it's a rare genetic disease which causes unforgiving debilitation. And it is most common among Iranian Jewish and Japanese communities. However, it also affects individuals of other ethnicities. Symptoms usually begin to occur in early adulthood between the late teens until the early 30s. And although it's not life-threatening, it can confine patients to a wheelchair within 10 to 20 years of diagnosis. On a cellular level, HIBM is linked with this annoying mutation in a single gene called GNE, which causes muscles to slowly waste away. The inheritance pattern is displayed above. As with many other rare genetic diseases, both parents must be carriers in order to pass the disease on to their kids. But remember, carriers do not display symptoms. And if both parents are carriers, they have a 25% chance with each pregnancy to conceive a child with HIBM. In the 1970s, Jews of European ancestry had a carrier rate of 1 in 27 in a disease called Tay-Sachs. Let's compare this to HIBM. It is estimated that 1 in 15 Iranian Jews is a carrier of HIBM. That's 1 in 15 compared to 1 in 27, almost double the rate. Today, Tay-Sachs prevalence has been reduced by 95%. Unfortunately, intervention efforts in the Iranian Jewish community have failed. So now that you know all of this, what questions or queries do you have? Mine were the focus of my research. Why, with such high carrier rates, was this population so reluctant to get screened? Did they even know about the debilitating characteristics of HIBM? So I tried to look to the scientific literature, and unfortunately, to no avail. And then I decided to put on my big kids research hat and create an online survey to fill in the gaps. My survey included some hard-hitting questions, such as questions related to HIBM knowledge, perceived susceptibility and severity, and perceived benefits and barriers to HIBM. And my outcome variable was simple. Do you intend to get screened, yes or no? Recruitment is actually ongoing and has been very challenging. Perhaps my community is reluctant to take ownership of HIBM. Disease stigma is highly present in this community because finding out that you're a carrier of this disease could hinder your chances of marriage. So of the data that I have collected, here's a word cloud of a question related to why or why not participants would intend to get screened. And finally, my hope is that this research will pave the way to intervention efforts in genetic disease in all communities. My hope is that one day we will eradicate HIBM. And my hope is that once I fulfill mommy's dream of having children, they will live without the burden of preventable genetic disease. Until then, please remember one thing. There are only two ways to know if you're a carrier of a genetic disease: to get screened or to give birth to a child affected with disease. Thank you.
I'm going to defer the questions to you if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your presentation. The one question I had, and you might have already mentioned, I just wanted to know a little bit more about, I know you said you were having difficulties with recruitment. I saw your survey. What methods did you mention? Is it on social media that you're putting out the survey? Is it on?
Right, so I have actually tried to collect data through organizations. So I've reached out to multiple organizations that interact with this community, especially the young adult population. I've reached out to synagogues, to young adult groups, to the Jewish Federation, multiple kind of community groups that interact. And it's been difficult because convincing an organization to post something up on their Facebook page or send it out on their email blast list, it's a hard thing to do. So, and some organizations have bluntly told me that they're not interested, so.
So you've primarily dealt with reaching out to the leaders of the organization?
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Following up with that, with your research that you sent out, or the survey you sent out, how many did you get back? How many people actually
As
responded?
of now, I'm at 50, so 50. I was aiming for 200, which I think was quite a bit. I started recruiting in November, early November, and I'm trying to collect data in New York as well as LA. But I've noticed that having a face-to-face interaction with someone really helps, and I obviously can't do that unless I use Skype or something with someone in New York. Fortunately, one of my committee members is a geneticist in New York, so he's helped, but he can only do so much, so.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Excellent, Caroline. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with Caroline on her thesis. And as you can imagine, recruitment it can be a challenge. It's a very specific population. And so I applaud her efforts with that and everything else that she's done in support. Okay, our last speaker. It's never easy to be the last speaker, right? So everyone, great for hanging in there and being a part. This has been fantastic and exciting. Our last speaker, Jay, he shares that people often mistake him for Daniel Day Kim. Some of you, so okay, we have some Lost fans or Hawaii Five-0 fans out there. And, but he draws the line at autographs. He said, all right, when people ask me, they tell me I look like him, I just go with it. I go with it. So we are so pleased to have Chun Lim with kinesiology, the Department of Kinesiology. He's going to share with us the effects of Nintendo Wii activities on balance in youth with autism spectrum disorder. And chair is Dr. Terry Todd. Jay?
Thank you, Dr. Berg. Hello, everyone. When I presented my study at a conference, a lot of my audience came to listen to my presentation thinking that I came out to represent Nintendo. Especially looking at my ethnicity, who could blame them? So before I begin, let me just clarify that we have no affiliations whatsoever. Although I do think that I could have been a heck of a salesman for them, since most of my participants' parents ended up buying the Wii following my program. So yes, I got to play video games for my master's thesis. And let me share with you how that experience has and continues to inspire my life today. 4 years ago, when I suffered a decision-making crisis about my future during senior year of my undergrad, I went to a mission camp. It was a 3-day mission camp designed for children with autism, and this was my very first time interacting with those with autism, so I was so scared, nervous, and intimidated by their atypical behavior. However, these initial feelings slowly diminished as I began to mingle with them through fun-filled activities. And my indifference towards autism became more observant as I began to empathize with camp participants. Due to this result, when I started grad school, I knew right away that I wanted to dig deeper into the Society of Autism, but who knew that I would end up playing video games for my master's degree? Awesome, right? Now, everybody's going to want to pursue grad school thinking that it is as easy as it may sound. Besides these social characteristics that most of us already know about autism, previous studies have found a lack of fundamental movements such as walking, running, and throwing in children with autism compared to their peers without autism. A stable balance that is required to successfully perform the simple movements that we take for granted may not be easy for those with autism due to balance complications that could come from their physical restriction. So in the long run, balance complications in children with autism could prevent them from participating in more advanced physical activities that require more advanced movements. Then physical inactivity could lead to more concerning health issues such as obesity and other heart problems. Which is why we need to find an adequate and early childhood intervention for children with autism to improve balance-related skills. Over the years, Nintendo Corporation has been producing a number of interactive fitness games. These virtual reality fitness games have become so popular in clinical and research settings as they have shown a variety of improvements in individuals' fitness, including balance. However, there were not many studies on interactive fitness games on balance, focusing in individuals with autism, and that is why I did my research. So I had the opportunity to have the most amazing time with 7 youth with autism between the ages of 6 to 15. All of them had individual reactivity sessions with me for twice a week for 8 weeks. They all played games of their choice, from Wii Fit balance games that have interactive games such as soccer heading, snowboarding, skiing that stress balance-related skills on the balance board controller. Another game that we played was Just Dance, a dance exercise game that uses motion sensor controller to groove along to dance moves provided on the screen. Participants' balance was assessed before and after 8-week reprogram by using a computerized assessment tool called the Force Plate. Now, the slides in the back may help you visualize this process better. Participants were asked to perform balance-related tasks such as 2-feet stands, single leg stands, sit-to stand, and also 180-degree turn. Then the computer system calculated 2 things. Stability by looking at body sway, and time duration. When assessment results were compared between before and after, there was a trend of improvement in both stability and movement efficiency in all of the mentioned activities, meaning participants' balance became more stable with greater movement efficiency in those activities. Due to this result, we could say that Wii activities could be an effective method to improve balance in children with autism through fun and accessible physical activity option. In addition, I would like to share some personal gains out of my research experience. Thanks to my thesis that forced me to play dance games so diligently, I have become a dancing machine. And I can't wait to try these new moves out once this is all over. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day too, so we'll see if my dating game improved. But more on the serious note, thanks to a year length of awesome experience, I don't need to go through another decision-making crisis because I know that I want to continue to help those with autism. In fact, let me rephrase that statement. I'm going to continue to get help by those with autism because they're the ones inspiring me to research, create, and implement programs for them. Some might say that I played video games for my master's degree, but it was much more exciting than that as many events took place. Recruiting participants was not easy. Reason why I said a year length when we program was only designed for 8 weeks. Endless hours were dedicated to data collection due to participants' short attention span and lack of social communication skills. I had to drive to many locations for those who participated at home. And lastly, I was also bitten a few times. Nonetheless, this experience has given me a whole new insight for those with autism, reestablishing my feelings 4 years back at the camp. I said that I was nervous, scared, intimidated, but that fear has become confidence that brings joy when I'm around them. I have made friendship with many unique personalities who have taught me to be more unique myself instead of comparing myself to others. And finally, that intimidation has become an inspiration that pushes me to open up more doors of possibilities for children with autism while emphasizing not on their disabilities, but focusing on the abilities of autism, which is limitless. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. One question that comes to my mind is, why reserve to we, and why can't you get the autistic children to exercise, get them an exercise program and have them participate in a regular exercise program? The reason I asked is a lot of families may not have the money to buy the Wii for their kids.
Okay. There are physical activities out there that children with autism could participate in, but due to their social characteristics, it's really hard for them to engage in those physical activities. Wii activities, on the other hand, all kids love playing games, so I had no trouble forcing them to engage in video games. They were all engaged throughout all my interventions. So this is an easy way to get them engaged in physical activity. And also, you said we could be pricey, but honestly, it's not very pricey. It's very accessible. It's around $100. Compared to other outdoor activities, they all cost a lot of money too if they continuously participate in those activities.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Excellent, Jay, and he's a dancing machine. Watch him get down. It's but combining what kids love, right? Video games and exercise. Win-win, for the kiddos. They love it. All right, everyone. So this is the closing of our session, I should say. I'm saying it's just sections with courses happening. We thank everyone for coming here today and spending your morning and part of your afternoon with us. First and foremost, we thank the students for their amazing research, energy, commitment, time, everything, impressive research, everything that you've done. For a lot of these students, this was optional. They just decided to do it to improve their speaking skills or just to further their research along, which is super impressive. So we thank each and every one of you. Great job. Amazing. Such an impressive array of young scholars. We'd also like to thank, where's Melissa? Get on down here, Melissa. Come on down. Melissa, the fabulous coach, our instructor, our leader extraordinaire. Come on up. She wants to say a few words. All right, dear. Thank you for everything and being for such an amazing.
Thank you. It was such a joy. Okay, you guys rocked it. Thank you. Woo! I was a little bit of the nervous mom up there, like, oh, how are they going to do? They've been dedicated since December, I think we started, and they have come at night, they've come on Fridays, they've been practicing, we've been going over stories, and really the idea was everyone has a story and everyone can relate, and you did it beautifully today. So thanks for coming and turning out and supporting them. They have such wonderful, bright futures, and I know that you'll take these skills and use them everywhere. So it was a joy and an honor for me to work with you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and from me as well. And we'd like to thank our fine judges. Do you have a couple words for Drs. Doris Abershemi and Dr. Caitlin O'Keefe, please?
I just wanted to say, we didn't get to say it enough at the end of each presentation, but you guys did such a fantastic job. It was so impressive to see you up there. Your research is boundless in what it can do and the implications that it can have. So we really enjoyed seeing you speak. And I just wanted to let you know, I know our limited comments after your presentations are not indicative of how much we enjoyed them and how impressed we were with how you all did up there. So really great job for all of you.
Excellent. And to Dean Alva as well, thank you so much again for your leadership and for bringing Thesis Talks to us. We have flowers for the three of you, fine women as well. And for Tim McGuire, our amazing cameraman at the top, capturing it all and webcasting it, not just to your family and friends, guys, but your future employers. No pressure, no pressure. Your small gift is coming too, by the way. Don't be intimidated by these Valentine's Day type flowers. And just everyone for coming. The sound guys on the stage have been absolutely incredible, making sure everything works, everything's running. And again, thank you guys, the participants, for coming and making this a success. Our first Thesis Talks, everyone. Thanks again.